And welcome to the second part of this module. So in this bit we're actually going to be taking what we learned in the previous lecture and we're going to be putting it to practical use using real DNA sequence. So what I want you to do, the first thing is open your DNA sequence. So I've got mine loaded here and it should look exactly like mine. So you'll see that there is a binomial name on top of a load of DNA sequence. Now I've collected this DNA sequence from freely available sources online, as all DNA sequence, or most of it that's been sequenced, is published online, freely available for anyone to see. So I've collected a load of sequence and put it in this file for you. So what do we have here? So if you remember in the previous lecture, I said I wanted to look at the hominoidea clade. So I've included some hominoidea members here, and I've also included some other Old World monkeys. Now hominoidea is part of the Old World monkey clade too. Now I've just included a few other Old World monkeys just out of interest, like the hulock gibbon, just purely to look at those too. So I've also included something that might sound out as a little bit odd to you. Now you can either pause this video and give this name a Google, or I will go on and tell you what it is. This is a howler monkey. Now a howler monkey is a New World monkey, so what would I possibly want with a New World monkey in my Old World phylogenetic tree? So if you remember to the previous lecture, the reason I want a New World monkey in my Old World monkey phylogenetic tree is I need an outgroup. Now you must always have an outgroup, or a root species, whatever you want to call it, in your phylogenetic tree, as you remember previously. Otherwise your phylogenetic tree, it won't be able to work out the internal nodes correctly, and it's always a good indicator. It's almost like a quality check. If you're including a species that you know shouldn't be part of your tree, it should stick out like a sore thumb, and it integrates itself with the tree, you know you've probably done something wrong. So including this one is necessary for the phylogenetic analysis and is also a quality check. So let's start. The first thing I want you to do is copy and paste all your sequence. So copy it, and then I want you to go to, when it loads, there it is, I want you to go to Clustal Omega. Now you can get to Clustal Omega by just giving it a Google. So just Google Clustal Omega. So what I want you to do is you're going to need to change this to DNA. So if we just change that to DNA and we paste it in, so you've got all your sequence in there, and then all you got to do is press submit. Now what Clustal Omega is going to do is it's going to align all your DNA sequence. So it's making sure that from beginning to end it's aligned correctly, and that any differences in DNA sequence between, like any differences on the positions, are due to actual evolutionary change and not due to misalignment. So it's going to align it all properly. As you can see here, it looks all very neat and tidy. Bear in mind that analysis may take longer depending where in the world you are, how good your signal is, how good your Wi-Fi is, how many of you are doing this at the same time. So because I'm on my own, it was very quick. So you'll all see it's all beautifully aligned. That's wonderful, that's a good sign. Except for this bit here. Now, this bit at the bottom is going to need to be removed. You must always remove misaligned sequence from your phylogenetic analysis. Otherwise you'll get an incorrect tree. Okay? So what we're going to have to do for this is we're going to have to copy it. And you will always, I don't think I've ever done a phylogenetic tree where the DNA is aligned perfectly. So you'll always have to do this step, and the first line is always aligning. So copy that. I want you to open a fresh text or notepad. Please don't do this in Word. The reason I say that is because of different Word fonts and formats. It can cause all sorts of problems when you're doing this step. So please do this in a text or a notepad document. So as I said, we're going to have to get rid of this. All of the misaligned bits are going to have to be gone, and it's all going to have to all be cut off. So you're going to have to take off from that T onwards, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And you're going to have to do the rest to match it. It must always match. Your sequences must be exactly the same length, and they must all be properly aligned. Now Clustal Omega has taken care of the hard bit of aligning for us. Wonderful program that it is. But we're having to do the rest. So this is called manual alignment, and Clustal Omega is software alignment. So now we know that's all done, what you're going to have to do is we're going to move on to the next step. So we've got perfectly aligned DNA. So I want you to select it all and copy it, including this bit at the top here. That's very important that you include this bit here. Okay, so what we're then going to do is we're going to go to Clustal W2 phylogenetic tree. So you can get there by Google, give that name at the top of Google, and you'll get there just like me. So what I want you to do is paste your aligned sequence in. Please make sure you've got your code at the top or it will kick out an error message. So you'll see here you have a set of options. Now, for the purposes of this investigation, I want you to leave them as they are. Now, the reason I want you to leave them as they are is because all phylogenetic programs have a default, and for the most part, that's perfectly fine. Unless you know what each of these is doing, please don't change them. The only one I will give you permission to change is the clustering method, and that's purely because I know from experience that UPGMA is the analysis I want for these sequences. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to UPGMA and encourage you to do the same. By all means, also produce a neighbour joining tree, and you'll see the difference, and you'll understand immediately why I chose UPGMA. So that's all you got to do for this one. Go ahead and press submit, and it's going to take your DNA sequence and it's going to make your very first phylogenetic tree for you. And so it has. There we go. It's done it beautifully. So yours should turn out just like that. You'll see that you can toggle. So the difference between a cladogram and a phylogram, or it's called real here. So your phylogram would be this one here. So it's showing, in a way, time. So it's saying all this happened really rather quickly. Otherwise you'd have much longer lines. A cladogram, you'll see that all of them end at the same time, as opposed to this one where your lines all end at different places. So I use a cladogram just for the purposes of demonstration, and you can't really see that. It's not really much use to you. I would use this one. So the numbers on the end I don't want you to worry about. That's just an automatic, this is what Clustal turns out automatically when it generates a phylogenetic tree. As far as I'm aware, it's just genetic distance. It's not something we need for this analysis. It's not something you need to worry about. So well done, guys. You got your first phylogenetic tree. So let's take a look at our tree in a bit more detail. So I'm just going to go to, where have I put it? This one. So this just allows me to draw on it. So this is how yours should turn out. So you will see here that here is your split. So this split here is the one we need to look at the differences between Hominoidea and your other old world monkeys. So all of these guys, I'll highlight them in pink, all of these guys are old world monkeys, all of them. But only these guys, probably should have done a different colour, but there we go. Only these guys belong to Hominoidea, including Homo sapien neanderthalis, obviously. So these guys are old monkeys, and these guys are Hominoidea. So something happened here. So this was a split between old world monkeys and when Hominoidea went off to go and be Hominoidea. So at one point, all old world monkeys share a common ancestor, and that's this one here. That's precisely what would have happened here. And a speciation event would have occurred here. So you know you've done a good job when your root species is sticking out, and that's a good thing. Now, you will have seen, if I just go back to just make it easier to see on here, you'll see that it's on top. Now, I know that's a little bit counterintuitive when I say the word root species. That would imply it'd be on the bottom. Occasionally, this is what it turns out and it sits on the top. There's nothing you can do about it. It means exactly the same thing. As long as it's sticking out like a sore thumb, you've done a good job. So we know that we've done a pretty good job because it's sticking out. So that's sticking out. We don't have to worry about that one too much. So all of these are your old world monkeys. These guys are your Hominoidea. And these guys, your other old world monkeys up here. So if you want, I would take a moment to pause this video, go learn a little bit more about the species that we're looking at here. Now, I've left their names for the scientific names, but that's just purposefully because I know what they mean. If you don't know what species you've got here, I want you to pause this video and go off and Google them. The quickest way to do that is if you go to your species, copy, go to Google, when it works. Mine's not going to work, but go to Google, paste that into Google, and it should upload something and tell you more about your species. So if you just give that a pause, guys, and then go and learn a little bit more about your species. Okay, so if you've either not gone and done that, that's fine, you can leave that till later, or you're back, welcome. Hopefully you've learned a little bit more. So now maybe you know a little bit more about your species, you can maybe start to understand a bit more. So this guy is your orangutan, your gorilla, your chimp, your human, and your Neanderthal. So you understand that this has turned out perfectly because you would expect Homo sapien to be related to the Neanderthals. You'd also perhaps expect that chimps have also next in line. So we shared a common ancestor with those before. We shared a common ancestor much more recently than we did with gorillas, and much more recently than we did with orangutan. Because don't forget that this is time. So time moves in this direction. So this is time. So time is moving in this direction, so we're saying this happened long ago, much further back in time than here. Okay, so another way that we can check that maybe our phylogenetic tree is coming out, and something that may interest you, is by checking the divergence times. Now, the divergence time is when a split in evolutionary history would have occurred. Now, there's a wonderful website that I adore that you should go to, and this one is called Time Tree. Now, Time Tree is fantastic. If you type in the names of 2 species here, so we'll do it for demonstration purposes, but you can always go and do it on your own and pause the video. So, chimpanzee and human. And this website is telling me that this happened approximately 6.6 million years ago, and it goes to the website and tells me more about it just there. So it goes to the paper, I think. Yep. Don't worry too much about trying to read and understand the scientific papers, although by all means do give it a go, guys. It's a skill that needs to be honed over time. Do not be afraid of scientific papers. They're just a lot of long scientific words that once you Google them and break them down, it speaks plain English. So here this is telling you that this occurred 6.6 million years ago. Obviously you will see different numbers, and these different studies. These are all the names, these are the authors of the papers and when they were published. So often the most recent one is one of the most reliable. It's saying 7.3, but Time Tree has its own analysis. It scans all these numbers and it comes up with one of its own. So from my own experience, I personally go with 6.6 million years ago, but like I said, with phylogenetics, you must be prepared for different answers to the same question, because these people would all have analysed it all differently and used a different method of getting their dates. But the general consensus is roughly about 6.6 million years ago. So you can say approximately 6.6 million years ago, and you don't have to be too specific. It can range from, I think the biggest one there is 9.9 and the smallest is 4.7, although I could be wrong. Yeah, I think so. So what I do is, when I can get it, is I would type in, what was it again? 6.6 million years ago. So I would just put, you're probably much neater than me at this if you get up your own. So I'm just going to put 6 point, oh, that didn't go very well. 6 point, I can't write on there, but here you could write 6.6. So you could just give that a write up there. So it just tells you how long ago it happened. Now, if our theory is correct, you would fully expect, there we go, 6.6. There we go. You would fully expect that this to be sooner. Now, if you type in Homo sapien and Homo sapien neanderthalis, Time Tree's not going to let you do it. Now, that's simply Time Tree's experience. So if we try now, and you type in Neanderthals, it won't let you do it. Now, it might be that it can't find the Neanderthals. Neanderthalis, and from experience I don't believe it lets you do it. I think they say that it doesn't recognise it. It might also be that some websites won't allow you to analyse Homo sapien neanderthalis. Either there's no data for it, or in some cases they won't allow you to analyse what they call sister species, or they say it's a parent species. It's just not going to recognise it. So, oh, there we go. It is recognising it. Homo sapien and Homo sapien neanderthalis are the same. So they're saying they're exactly the same. So again, you'll find papers that completely disagree with that, but you must just take it at face value. Once you become experienced enough, you'll form your own scientific opinion based on evidence and research. So if I were you, give the video a pause, and then what I want you to do is go back and maybe print off the video and put in these names and see how far back they went. So you would expect that this speciation event occurred 6.6 million years ago. The difference between Homo sapien and if your phylogenetic tree is to be believed, that should be longer than 6.6 million years ago. So if we type in gorilla, and human, 8.9. So our phylogenetic tree is churning out something quite cool, because it's saying that this happened further back in time. The split between humans and gorilla happened further back in time, and Time Tree is confirming it. So we know we've got a pretty decent phylogenetic tree. So if you want, please take a pause and have a look, have a play with Time Tree, type in some other organisms that are on our tree. Feel free to have a play. Do feel free to read the papers. I believe many of them are open source, but Don't be afraid of big long words they use. Give the big long words you don't understand to Google. They have simple meanings. And have a go. Have a go and have a look at how the differences between New World monkey, Old World monkey, when the splits occurred. Take a look at that. Take a look at any information that you want to find on this phylogenetic tree. Now, I don't think I'm going to go into any more detail. I want you to do your own exploration here. I want you to go and explore. I want you to go and Google the species. You're going to need to go and Google perhaps when this split occurred between the Old World monkeys and Hominoidea. When did Hominoidea go and branch off? When did the split occur between New World monkeys and Old World monkeys? Go and find out more about the species on your tree. Now you've got your data and you've got your result. It's now time to analyse your result. So we know we can now answer a lot of questions such as, are humans more related to orangutans or are they more related to gorillas? Well, our phylogenetic tree says they're more related to gorillas. So you can answer lots of questions, go and explore your data, give it all a Google, and go and enjoy your own research. So that's the last you'll probably hear from me for this module, guys. So I wish you the best of luck in your little quizzes and your exam. I'm sure you worked very hard and you deserve it. So good luck, guys, and thank you very much for paying attention.